Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Arize Conversations. I am your hostess, Her Royal Highness Princess Moradion Adedun Sholari, and of course, Arize Conversations is firmly seated on the beautiful platform of Heritage Television, which is our Pan-African TV network. We beam across the world because we're on the internet, we're on Facebook, we do watch parties, we are also on YouTube, and we're on the Heritage TV app. Today I have an amazing guest who's been a brother of mine for quite a number of years. I've interviewed him before on other channels, and it's a great pleasure to have him with us today. But there's several parts to this gentleman as he wears several caps. Before I bring him on, I think I want the studio to play you a little something to whet your appetite. Take it away, sir.
If you need that salvation, if you need that forgiveness, you can receive it tonight. Shout hallelujah.
The anointing breaks the yoke. Hear Dr. Paul N. Vincent preach the anointed word of God that changes lives and brings salvation, healing, and deliverance. Invite him to minister in your church, conference, or crusade. Also read his life-changing books in the Persistent Work series. For more information about inviting Dr. Vincent to minister or to order his books, visit VincentPaulMinistriesInternational.com.
Support and vote Bishop Major Paul N. Vincent, preacher, prolific author, and major in the U.S. Army Reserve for U.S. Senate. The time has come for a change and to bring a fresh, bold, and godly approach to doing business in Washington, D.C. Texans, on November 3rd, 2020, vote Bishop Major Paul Vincent as your U.S. Senator representing Texas. Let's bring change to Washington, D.C. For more info and to support Bishop Major Paul N. Vincent, visit his Senate campaign official website, www.bishopvincentforsenate.com.
I am Bishop Major Paul Vincent, and I approve this message.
Yes, so what do you think about that? A bishop as a civilian, a major as a soldier in the U.S. Army, and somebody who also has something up his sleeves that he's going to share with us. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my immense pleasure and cherished delight to have with me again one more time in the studios, Bishop Major Paul Vincent.
Thank you so much, Princess. Nice to be here
Always good to have you.
Thanks so much.
So, Bishop, since the last time we've been together, having a conversation like this on television, what have you been up to? You're a bishop, you're a civilian, but you're also in the U.S. Army as a major, and there's something that you want to do in politics.
Yeah. Well, nice having you once again, or being on your show. I think the last time I was here
was a few years ago.
Yeah, about 8 years ago or so. So a lot has happened. Of course, in 8 years, a lot can happen. So I want to thank God for the grace. And at that time, I think I talked about one of my books.
Yes.
And I had about, at that time, 6 of them. But by the grace of God, I've published 20 books now.
Wow.
And since I'm not talking about the book today, or books today, so I didn't come with them. But over the years in the area of ministry, God has helped us with traveled across the nations and preached. Last year alone, we did a 20-nation city missions, preaching all over the place. On the military side, I served on the reserve side, and I went active duty for 5 years, and then I came back to the reserve. So the reserve gives me the opportunity to be able to do a lot of traveling and stuff I'm trying to do. And at that time, I just became captain when we spoke the last time. By the grace of God, God has added another feather. So I recently been on major. By the grace of God. And I was in New York at the time we spoke last, and now I'm in Texas, based in El Paso, Texas. So God has been faithful. When I look back and see all that He has been doing, I know that. So the other thing that is about to happen is I'm running for the U.S. Senate to represent the state of Texas. because every state in the U.S. has 2 senators representing them. So Texas is a huge state. It's, I guess, the size of Nigeria or bigger than Nigeria.
I think it's slightly bigger than Nigeria.
At the end of the day, and they have what you call staggered elections. So everybody doesn't go out and come in the same time. One senator is elected this time, another senator is elected the next time. So this coming election, there's the last one in 2018, the senator that was there, it was his time, and it's a 6-year term. So I'm looking to run as an independent because I'm not a politician, but I believe in we being involved in the cause of
course you're a politician.
in the context of politicians, the way we see them, you know.
You're not the regular kind of politician.
Professional, yeah. You know, but I've been involved in government for over 12 years now.
That's what I'm saying.
Because this past May is my 11th year, going to 12 now in the U.S. military. So by being involved in the military, I'm already in government. I'm already serving. So it's just that now I'm trying to serve at a different capacity.
Extend your capacity of serving. For people who are watching, obviously they're looking at this gentleman who's my guest and wondering, Bishop Major. What's your background? You know, where are you from? Obviously, from your accent, most likely you're from my country.
You're right.
Which is Nigeria. So people want to know where exactly you're from in Nigeria. How did you end up in the U.S.? What did you study? And why did you go to the army?
Okay. So originally, and I love to use the word originally because technically I'm not a Nigerian citizen anymore.
I know.
Because of my military service.
That's what I said, from.
Yeah, so they make us give up our
citizenship.
So originally, a Nigerian born in Abia State. I'm from Umuahia. It used to be Kwano Umuahia local government, but now Ikwana is a local government of its own. But in a generic sense, we just say Umuahia. So I'm from Umuahia. Grew up in 2 different states. Kwara State, grew up in Jeba, and then had my Bible school training in those days in Ilori. But Abia is my home state, so I had the later part of my primary and secondary school in Abia State. So I've lived in Abia State, Kwara State, and then Lagos State. Lagos is
everybody's man.
I know some people claim that Lagos is theirs, but we all claim Lagos belongs to all of us. So I was called to ministry at a very young age. At that time, it wasn't really popular to say you are called in ministry. I remember my mom used to get a condolence visit, like, you say your son is going to ministry? I mean, it's like somebody died and they were coming to condole with her. Yeah, so that was how bad it was then. But at the end of the day, I had a conviction, I had a burden, I knew the Lord called me, and I was bent on answering the call. So I answered to that call in 1990. I gave my life to Christ quite early, about 85. At that time, I was close to 14, you know. So
that was a young age.
Yeah. So, and the interesting thing is that I didn't grow up in a church family. So my parents divorced I was maybe about 10, 11 at that time. Okay. So that event, the devil meant it for bad. God used that event to draw me to Christ. So eventually, when I had the call, and a few years, I decided to answer to the call. So I went to Bible school in 1990. And it was quite an experience because during those years, God kind of began to reshape me and prepare me for ministry. So my first degree from the University of Ibadan, which was the affiliate program with the theological school I attended, religious studies and theology. And at the end of the day, I did some pioneering work in Nigeria, and God began to open doors for my writing ministry at that time. So I used to have a newspaper column in Ambassador newspaper, the Abia State's own newspaper. So that happened for quite some years, and then for quite some years. But eventually, when God began to work things out, God reconnected me with a childhood friend who I lost
Your
contact.
childhood sweetheart.
Yeah. Well, not really sweetheart. At that time, it was more like we were friends and grew up together. And God had some other plans eventually. We lost contact for years, but God brought us together, which that itself is a miracle by itself. When we were in New York Daily News did a full-page story on that, living a dream literally, because in '94, when I was in Bible school, God gave me a dream. I saw myself arrived in New York, and she came to pick me up. At that time, she was a school of nursing student in Abia State. So she came to pick me up. The next day, we were dressing up like as couples,
That was the dream.
Yeah, it didn't make sense because she was a struggling school of nursing student. I was in Bible school, and then I didn't see her. And in that dream, she looked settled and established. That was how I saw her. So fast forward, almost 10 years later, that dream happened exactly the same way.
Wow.
After God reconnected us, so we got married, she filed for me, so I joined her. So I was doing ministry already in Nigeria and had a radio program on FRCN RN3 at that time. That's Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria. So when I moved over, I continued the work of ministry. But then 2 years later, I would say I stumbled into the opportunity to serve in the U.S. military.
Okay.
It was never my agenda. It wasn't a to-do list. I mean, I didn't know I was going to be involved.
It was probably on God's agenda.
Yeah, it was on God's agenda, just like this Soul Senate thing is on God's agenda. So I prayed about it. I talked to my wife about it. And by the way, her dad is a retired Nigerian soldier. So she's...
How cool is that?
she's used to the military family. So eventually, and that was the peak of the war too. So everybody was scared of, hey, why did you allow they would tell my wife, they would ask her, would tell her, why did you allow your husband to join the military? They would send him to Afghanistan or Iraq to go be killed. And then, so that was the mindset of people at that time. But God just preserved me. Even though I deployed to Jordan. But I always say security or safety is not the absence of danger, but the presence of God. You can be walking on the street of London or New York and get knocked down.
I would love you to say that again. That was a profound statement.
Yeah. Safety or security is not the absence of danger.
It's not the absence of danger,
but the presence
but the presence of God.
So if God is present with you in the midst of danger, you are safe.
Absolutely.
People have been sleeping in their houses and cars just crashed, or even a plane crashed.
And
killed
that's
them right there. They didn't go
and they were safe.
They were safe.
Supposedly.
So that really was an encouragement for me to join the military, irrespective of the fears out there. But it's a unique type of ministry. I saw it as a mission field, to be able to minister to the men and women in uniform. So I just see it as doing the same thing. The only thing is that I put on the uniform to do it at one time, and I take it off to do it at another time. And God has been faithful. It's been a great ministry, both on the reserve side, on active side. When we were deployed, I baptized 55 soldiers in River Jordan.
When you were deployed to Jordan?
To Jordan, yeah, because most of the places that Jesus walked are those historic biblical places. They fall under, some fall in Israel, some fall in Jordan. So the River Jordan, part of it is Israel, part of it is Jordan. So it was a unique ministry experience.
How have you found being in the military? We can, I guess, some of us can kind of understand that. But to now decide to become a soldier with a nation that once in a while likes to go to war.
Not once in a while, all the time.
I'm just being, So how have you been able to, because you're still there, how have you been able to cope mentally, spiritually, being in the army, knowing that you could be called anytime?
So I see it as a missions field, in that, like I said, ministering to people on the civilian side, but now I just have to put on the uniform to do the same thing I'm doing on the civilian side. So when you see it as a mission, as a ministry, as a calling, then it becomes easier. On the other hand, it's challenging because you have to do everything the soldiers do. We call it the ministry of presence. So you are present with them, to be there with them, to do what they are doing, to be able to minister to them. So that means when they deploy, we go with them to provide ministry. When they are in the field, we go with them. when they are doing PT in the morning, which is huge,
You have to
especially on the active duty side. Every morning we go for physical training, PT, running 2 miles, push-ups, sit-ups. That's going to be your lifestyle. So you have to be prepared for that mentally and physically, and you have to be fit too. So that means if I can run 2 miles and I can't do push-ups or press-up, and I can't do sit-up, the military is not for me.
Not a soldier.
Because that is going to be a regular, before you get your promotion, before you go on leave, you have to pass your PT test. If you don't pass your PT test, you can be kicked out of the army. It's as simple as that.
So it has to become your lifestyle.
Yeah. So the PT test happens twice a year for the active side, or once a year for the reserve side. So if you're able to pass it, you have a career. If you're able to be in shape and to do that all the time, you have a career. If you are struggling for whatever reason and you can't pass the PT test, you don't have a career in the military, because people can get kicked out.
And they're quite strict.
Yeah. So, one thing with the body, when you train the body can accomplish a lot, and whatever you set your mind to. At the beginning, you might struggle, you might not be able to do it, but when you push yourself and you push the body can actually do a lot more than we think. So mentally, you have to condition yourself to be able to do it, that you believe you can do it, and then get to practice, get to work. It doesn't happen accidentally. You need to be doing it on a consistent basis. So on that side, I would say that's a challenging side, but on the other end, there's a joy and fulfillment that comes with it, because you are providing ministry to soldiers in a way that the typical civilian minister can do, because they are not in the uniform, they are not in their shoes, they don't know what it feels like to be out there in the field, or to be deployed, or to just be in uniform. But you are part of them, you feel their pain, you are able to minister to them, and I think that's what makes it different or unique.
How about the soldiers themselves? How do they react to you?
When they say, hey, I'm going to stay chaplain, nobody can stop them. In fact, they are encouraged, hey, maybe you're going through some stuff.
So you're like a spiritual psychologist?
No, not psychologist. You're a spiritual leader, like the pastor or counselor.
Okay.
And counseling is a huge part of. The reason why I said psychology is because there are psychologists who that's what they do.
They do, okay.
There are things we do they can't do, and we
vice
provide,
versa.
yeah, and we provide spiritual. We provide ministry, spiritual. Do is spiritual, is ministry, and they can claim that, and we can also claim what they do. And also we have 100% confidentiality, whereby a soldier can come talk to us about anything, and we're not obligated to. We are protected, as it were, from sharing their
information.
Yeah, so even the commander can come and say, hey, can you tell, I saw that soldier coming, what did he tell you? We can't give them any information. So that makes the soldiers to be able to come talk to you as a chaplain without fear of he's going to tell on me, because you're there to provide the counseling and the care
and the cushioning.
Because
being away from home, being away from your family, and also sometimes in the face of imminent danger as it were, can be quite mind-boggling for any human being, including yourselves that are also the ministers. Have you ever had any situation where one of you, the soldiers or some of them, got to a situation whereby you needed to advise for them to be sent back home?
You mean while deployed?
Yes.
Yeah, while deployed is a different environment, and of course there are challenges, but those challenges makes even our ministry easier,
Okay.
When everything is going fine, just like in the civilian world, sometimes people, everything is going fine, they don't remember God, right? They don't go to church.
That's true.
They don't pray. When disaster, tragedy hits,
oh God,
then you remember God, you pray, you want to talk to the
Somebody.
pastor, and then you kind of... Those times, in those deployed environments, it's much easier to do ministry, because they're able to come to you, even those who would ordinarily not want to talk to you. But there will be times when, of course, it won't be your call. There are the chain of command and people who will make the call, but there will be times when you can make intervention to say, this person needs help, or needs to be taken care of, or has this issue, maybe bereavement in the family and they are broken, they need to get back home. You can help make that case. So we play a lot of that kind of role, you know, whereby we help make the case for them, one way or the other, you know, to, like we are pastors, so there's that pastoral care side of our ministry, what we do. So, and they look up to us for that. So it's quite an interesting ministry.
Wonderful. Talking about, you know, your calling, the work you do, and now flipping the coin to politics.
Okay.
Why in the name of God did you just decide, I'm going to go run for Senate?
Well, that's an interesting question. And the thing is, you know, there's an African proverb that somebody thought and killed himself wasn't a day's thought. He didn't think about it in a day. In other words, when people kill themselves or commit suicide, it wasn't a one-day thought, you know. So there are things we do that it's been something that has been
building.
Yeah. Now, I would say if I wasn't in ministry, I could have been in politics. I could have been a lawyer.
Okay.
And I've been involved in politics. That's one side. So over the years, I've always been passionate about politics because it affects. Even as a believer, as a minister, we may say, hey, you know what, politics is dirty, I don't care, I don't want to be involved. When they get there and make whatever laws they make, guess what?
It affects us.
It affects you.
The boomerang effect.
At the end of the day, when we get involved as believers, or even as a minister, the Bible says that the righteous, there is joy when the righteous rule. If the wicked are in power and they make all the laws, and the righteous is forced to, in some cases we are not forced to obey, but persecutions follows when you don't obey, you know. Now, over the years, I've always followed politics very closely, whether in Nigeria, in the US.
Okay.
I've always been a keen observer of politics. I've always had a kind of passion. And, you know, sometimes I would jokingly tell my wife, I say, hey, you know what, someday I may be running for public office, you know.
And what did she say?
And it sounds funny, but as I said, somehow there's a kind of passion for it that kind of keeps building. You know, it wasn't a one-day affair. But over the years, because I'm in the military, as an active duty soldier, you can't run for office. Yeah.
That's interesting. As an active duty soldier, you cannot.
Yeah, you can.
How
Because
come in the US we have heard and actually seen where presidents of the US and maybe governors are military?
Yeah, so what happens is that, like, the U.S. military is structured, there are 3 ways you can serve. Number one is active duty, which is a full-time. The other is the Army Reserve, which is like part-time.
Okay.
And the other is the National Guard, which is like at the state level. So if you are serving as an active duty soldier, it's a full-time commitment. You are not allowed to do a lot of things, you know.
Okay.
If I were active duty, I couldn't be traveling and preaching all over the place as I do now. Now, reserve means you're still serving, but you have time to do some other things. National Guard is like the reserve, but at the state level. So at the state level, the governor can call up the National Guard when there's an emergency or when something happens that they need to use the military. Okay. So there are people who are currently serving as in Congress, in Senate, who are currently serving in the Army Reserve. So the Army Reserve is structured in such a way. It's like a cushion? Yeah, you are able to, because the president can call up the Army Reserve anytime. If they need to deploy like 50,000 soldiers anywhere in the world, they can call up the reserve. So you are standby any day, any time, and you are able to serve when you are needed.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So serving on the reserve side means you are able to run for
so
public.
There's flexibility.
Yeah, and that is what I love about it. Okay. So you are able to run for office, you are able to be involved in whatever.
And do other things that you want to do.
Yeah.
And on that note of flexibility, we're going to go on a quick, short break, and we'll be back, and we want to really talk plan and your campaign towards becoming Senator, Bishop, Major Paul Vincent.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't go away. It's Arize Conversations with yours truly, Princess Arize Adedun Sholari. And today my guest is a very dear brother of mine, Bishop Major Paul Vincent. See you shortly. You're welcome back. It's Arize Conversations with your hostess, yours truly, Her Royal Highness Princess Moradion Sholari, and it's coming to you live and direct on Heritage Television. We're based in the UK, but we beam across the globe, so you can find us on Watch Party, on Facebook Live, on YouTube, on the internet, which is via the Heritage TV app itself. Today, once again, if you're just tuning in, I'd like to introduce you to my amazing guest, a dear brother of mine. He's a minister of the Word of God, so he's a bishop. He's also a major in the U.S. Army. And guess what? He is running for Senate. Yes, you heard me right. Running for Senate in the United States of America. Sir, welcome back again.
Thanks so much.
So now we're going to be talking about your run for the Senate.
Okay.
Now, when you thought about it and you had made up your mind and you discussed with your dear wife and family and you felt comfortable about it, that's you and your family and maybe your friends. How about people? How has the reaction been from people in Texas, people in El Paso where you obviously live, the military where you work?
Okay. Well, on the military side, like I said, if you're on the Army Reserve, you're able to do what I'm doing.
Yeah, but have you had encouragement from your employers?
Yeah, I've had so much encouragement from across the board. I mean, I've had chaplains, senior chaplains, and people, other soldiers.
Go for it.
Not just go for it. Who are like, you know what? When I retire, that's what I'm hoping to do. And they admire the courage that I'm able to do it and do it now.
Wonderful.
You know? So that is one on one hand, and on the other hand, I've had a lot of encouragement from in Texas, across Texas, because like I said, Texas is huge. So it's like campaigning all over the states, reaching across the state, because you're not just focusing on El Paso. El Paso is just where we live, but we need to reach out to the whole of Texas. So I've had encouragement from all over, and because I'm running as an independent, so I'm not trying to go through the primaries and then wonder if I'm going to win or lose.
Not.
So I'm running as an independent. That means all my focus and all the campaign is towards the main election, which is November 3rd, 2020. So I don't need to worry about.
So we have about
primary.
a year.
Yeah, I have about a year. So
to campaign.
Yeah, I don't need to worry about the primaries. So while the party guys are dogging it out and trying to,
I like that.
trying to take down each other,
we are not involved in all that razzmatazz.
So, and I know the party structure is an advantage, but at the same time, as an independent, I think I have a leverage I kind of hope to use, and also be able to. The key thing is when people get to see you and know what you stand for and believe that you are going to represent them very well, and they know your antecedents. I mean, having served in the military, that itself is the ultimate service, because putting on the military, the uniform means you've already laid down your life. Every time we deploy, you could not come back, you may come back. So I think that is a peak of public service. So having served,
and if I may say so, you look absolutely good in uniform.
oh, thank you so much, thank you so much. So So at the end of the day, I have had encouragement so far, and I'm looking forward and hoping to have even much more encouragement from across the board. And I'm hoping to have both Democrats and Republicans join forces with me to help make it happen, because, you know, it's not just about the party, it's about serving the people of the great state of Texas. And I love the state of Texas. I've always, even when I lived in New York, I've always loved Texas. I've always hoped to, if I was going to move anywhere, it was going to be Texas. So
what was the attraction? The oil?
No. Well, you know, the weather is great.
Absolutely.
For most people who move from New York to Texas, I bet you most people, they love the warm weather. So, I mean, the people are great too. It's just a no-nonsense state. So I just love that about it. It's a no-nonsense state. It doesn't. Some states you get away with things, but in Texas,
the law is the law.
We mean business, you know. So I love the state of Texas, and it would be a great honor to get to represent the state in Washington, D.C. as a senator. And I know by the grace of God, it's going to happen. I just want all hands to be on deck, and I want to use the opportunity to talk to friends out there.
Please speak to that.
Yeah, friends, and if you ever have a friend, a relation, family member who live in Texas, even if you're not in Texas, if you live in California, in Oklahoma, wherever you live in, and you have family members in Texas, you have friends, I need your help. I want you to talk to them. You can visit our campaign website, www.bishopvincentforsenate.com. Go there, you will see the videos and the materials, and you will see much of what we stand for. And forward that link, send the videos, the flyers. I want you to help me talk to people you know, because those are the ones on ground that will help get the word out to say, hey, this guy is running for Senate, you know, let's support him, and ultimately get to vote for me on November 3rd, 2020. And I'm trusting God with God's blessing, and I know it's
done.
Well,
it's a done
it's
deal.
done.
Now, still on this run for the Senate, what will be your duties as a senator? Because sometimes we hear, you know, oh, Senate.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to say, going by what we know of the Senate in Africa, or particularly in Nigeria, where we are all originally from, it's not very palatable.
Yeah.
So sometimes people, you hear people say, what do they even do, all these senators? All they do is just steal money and drive big cars and go abroad.
Yeah.
What will be your duty as Senator Bishop Major Paul Vincent to the people of the state of Texas?
Yeah. So one thing we need to understand is that every politician, and I hate to use that word because I'm running for office, so I may become a politician, but I'm not really in that context, but every politician is elected to serve.
That's a key word.
That's a key word, to serve. To serve the people, not to lord over the people, not to control the people, to serve. So either you're the president, you are the governor, you are the senator, a congress member, you are elected to serve the people. So when you have that at the back of your mind, it changes the way you do business. Back in Africa, in some of the countries that you mentioned, one of the reasons or the problems is that people don't see public office as service. They see it as an opportunity to either enrich myself or to like whatever it is, but service doesn't seem to be on the priority. So when you know that you are going to serve, that's number one. Number two, that's leadership. Now, since I will be representing Texas, that means I will be serving the people of Texas. I will be leading and providing leadership at that level. We know that Senate and Congress, House of Reps, they are the legislative arms, and primarily what the legislative arm of government does is to make the laws. Now, they don't interpret the laws, that's the judiciary. They don't execute it, that's the executive arm, the president. So, and I know there will be some times when they have
conflicting
clash of the titans, you know, like what's going on now in the U.S., whereby it's more like who is superior to each other. I mean, hey, I'm going to do this.
Boxing gloves.
I'm going to show you that I have powers. So, and that also happens when you have the politicians, the professional politicians, the party guys, who their interest is not to serve the people, their interest is to score their political points and their affiliations, their allegiance to their party, but not the nation. When we are serving and we put the nation first, there will be things we'll be able to do that will go beyond party line. But when it's all about the party and all about your love or hatred for the other party and the other candidate, then you have the kind of things we are having. They are supposed to work in harmony because serving the people and the nation should be the goal, upholding the Constitution. And when the Congress members or the senators are fighting and not wanting to work with the president, it's not designed to be that way. They are supposed, and of course, there should be checks and balances, and they help to check each other. But ultimately, as a senator who makes laws and who care for the people you represent, remember, you are representing the people. So whatever needs from the constituency you are coming from, whatever priority, whatever things that are priority over there, that is what you go there to make a case for. So if, for instance, your people need water, and you go there and there's a law they are trying to make that kind of stops the flow of water in your state, your priority and goal as a senator or a lawmaker is to be able to protect the interests of your people, to make sure that, hey, we need water over there, and I can't be here and have you make a law that stops the flow of water there. So that is ultimately what it is. Every other thing is additional. And at the end of the day, the way the U.S. is structured, the legislatures, the Congress, there are things that are specific to Congress. When I say Congress, I mean the House of Reps. Yes. And there are things that are specific to the Senate. So, of course, Congress has the power of the purse, and that kind of makes them, they're like the mothers in the house.
They're buoyant.
Yeah, so they kind of approve, and they are the ones that call the shot when it comes to money, and that is one of the powers that they have. And the reason being that it's more representative. Like I said, the Senate, every state produces 2 senators. So that means no matter how big you are, you can be as big as California or Texas, only 2. You can be as small as maybe West Virginia, only 2. So that doesn't represent everybody, at the very grassroots. But the one that gets to the grassroots is House of Reps, whereby, for every congressional district, you represent a couple of people. So you have more spread out representation in Congress. So that's why the Constitution allows for them to get to do some things unique to them. And then there are things, too, that are unique to Congress. For instance, if the president wants to appoint a Supreme Court judge or some other appointment, the House of Reps doesn't have business with that. It's the Senate that has to confirm it, So with those unique roles and responsibilities that they have, but they still work together as one body and should be able to work together with the president, whoever he is. Even if you don't like his face, the point is that you are serving the people and you are serving the nation, and you want to put policies in place, do whatever you do to uplift the country, to make it better. So it's wrong for us to do politics and want to do whatever we are doing that brings down the country. We don't really care about what's happening. We just care about scoring our political party point, which is the wrong way to go about it. Wonderful. So ultimately, representing the people, serving the people, being the people's spokesperson at that level, because they can't get there. You are there to speak for them, to protect their interests. And when you see it from that standpoint, your job becomes easy, because you know you are not there for yourself. No matter whatever interest or agenda you have, your goal should be to represent the people that sent you there. And that's why there is election, because if you don't represent them very well, guess what? In the next 2 years for Congress, they kick you out.
You're out. In
the next 6 years, because Senate is in the next 6 years for senators, they can kick you out. But so I love the way democracy is designed, in that you come to give a report every now and then. If the people love what you're doing, they re-elect you if you want to be elected, Okay. If they are not impressed by what you're doing, they serve you the quit notice.
It's been good doing business with you. We call it today.
Yeah, so that's how it's supposed to work. Not a situation in some part of the world where they kind of like stuff ballot boxes and buy people over and burn boxes, and that's not election. That's not democracy. People have to be able to speak through their vote. When people vote, their vote should count. If their vote don't count, then you are running something else. Like one past leader in one of those countries, Nigeria, years back, he said, theirs is homegrown democracy. There's nothing like homegrown democracy, whatever that means, Politics should be, people should be able to know that their vote will count. That's so important. If you take that away, you might as well just stay home and not vote because, and a lot of people, that's why you have voter apathy, because people feel, why should I go vote?
If
my vote won't count.
Nothing's
They've
gonna
already
happen.
chosen who they want already. That is not the way it's
And
supposed to work.
that in itself is also already defeatist
Yeah.
in the mind of the citizens
Yeah.
or those who are going to cast their votes,
Yeah.
the voters.
Yeah, they feel they don't have the
They
power.
don't have a
because,
say.
and by right, they should have the power to hire and fire,
Because it is a job after all.
Yeah, yeah.
And when we now go back to your different roles,
Yeah.
as in the caps that you wear at the moment, which is a cap of minister of the gospel in your role as a bishop, also the cap of a military personnel
Yeah.
in your role as a major in the U.S. Army. Do you feel or do you believe that the preparations you've had over the years, because these are two key leadership roles,
Yeah.
and you do deal with the public, you deal with people,
Yeah.
do you feel that this has adequately equipped you and prepared you for the journey ahead?
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to go out there and campaign, it's another thing to actually go through the elections
Yeah.
and get elected, and then totally different ballgame to be able to serve effectively.
Yeah.
Because even though you have described what the role of a senator or legislator is, do you feel confident and do you feel prepared? The reason I'm asking these questions is there's also the undertone
Yeah.
of racism
Yeah.
in America.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure how you'll be able to settle in and wrestle with that. Because it is it's a major issue.
Yeah, yeah. So I believe by the grace of God, where I'm coming from and the different positions I've served and I'm serving have helped and has helped to shape me, to get me prepared. And I believe I'm confident that God over the years have prepared me through different experiences. Ultimately, it's all about service, it's all about leadership. And I'm not just talking of the theory side of leadership, which I have the theory side of it. My master's, one of my masters is in leadership. But apart from the theory, the practical aspect of leading, of problem solving, of earning people's trust and having to represent them, to speak for them, to care for them, because a leader is supposed to care for your people. If you're a leader and you don't care for your people, you are not a leader. So whatever policies you make you should have the people in mind. How is it going to affect them? Now, I know the aspect of the race and all that. Yeah. I don't really worry about that.
Really, Bishop?
Yeah, because the thing is this.
Really, Major?
Yeah, because
we all know about America.
The thing is, I know. I mean, it will always be there, but if we want to give race as an excuse not to do anything, we can. No, let me put it this way. If we are looking for an excuse not to do something, we always find one. And race can be an excuse we can give to kingdom come, right? But the thing is that there have been people who have defied race and have accomplished great things in politics, in business.
True.
We were just talking about a guy before we came into the studio, Tyler Perry.
Mr. Tyler Perry.
Now,
I doff my hat.
He just opened up
a 400-acre
despite race, and beat even the white and the
everybody.
So the thing is, if we are looking for an excuse not to excel in life, not to excel in the US or in UK, anywhere, there will always be racism, poverty, lack of education, lack of connections, whatever.
I guess the list is very long.
Yeah. So I just see race as one of those excuses we can use if we want to.
Have you ever been confronted with the race
I'm
issue?
not saying it's not there.
Especially
it's there.
One, in your ministry, because you've been in ministry there, you've worked with people.
Yeah.
Two, in the military, you've been there for nearly 12 years.
Yeah.
And now 3, you're stepping into the arena of American politics.
Yeah.
You're not just even stepping into the arena of American politics. You have said, hey, I'm running for Senate.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's not there. It's there. But being there is one thing.
What has been your experience?
Allowing it to stop me is another. So I'm not going to allow it to stop me. I'm not going to allow, even the fact that originally I'm from Nigeria, I'm not going to allow that to stop me, because that itself could be something somebody will say, you know what, I'm not even going to try it, because like the other time the FBI arrested some 80 or 88 Nigerians, and that has become the 88, FBI 88. It's become like it's FBI 88, so which is talking about Nigerians who are into crime, fraud, and all that. That doesn't mean everybody or every Nigerian is a fraudulent guy, is a 419er, and so if you allow that to define you, and you kind of, for fear of that, choose your actions or what you do based on that, it's a person's choice. But I've chosen not to let that define me, because that can define me. So race is there. The challenge of racism is there. We've had it. There are people who will never like you no matter what.
Whether you're green, pink, yellow.
That's their problem. They can deal with it. I'm not trying to become who I'm not. I'm not trying to like make somebody to say, hey, you know what, all Nigerians, by the way, I'm not running as a Nigerian because
I'm running as an American citizen.
So at the end of the day, the challenge of racism is there and will always be there.
Have you
not just
what has been your experience?
Okay, so
I'm very curious.
You see, not just in the US, every part of the world, we have the different, it might not be racist. If you go to Nigeria, you call it tribalism, right?
Oh, yes.
If you're not from a tribe and you're from the other tribe, it's a challenge to get up to do anything. So human beings, since Genesis 3, the problem of mankind has been the same in different forms. You know, so
what comes to mind now is, I guess we can think about ageism, we can think about sexism.
Okay.
So racism,
many isms,
many isms. Classism.
Yeah.
Statusism.
Yeah.
The list goes on.
Yeah.
So what you are saying, in effect, Bishop, is irrespective of.
That's right.
Notwithstanding.
That's right.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Against all odds.
Yeah.
If this is something I believe that I have been ordained and equipped for, I should arise.
That's right.
And go for it.
That's right.
And that's what you're doing.
Yeah. And I encourage everybody, whoever is watching me, if there is something that you want to accomplish in life, never look for an excuse. Never use race as an excuse. If you use it, if you're looking for an excuse, you will always find one. Maybe racism, maybe something else. But there are people who will never believe in you. The important thing is not who believes in you, is if you believe in yourself. If you believe and God is with you, if God be for us, who can be against us? So that's where I'm coming from. And I know, coming from where I'm coming from, back
from age 14, I cannot get over that.
Back from, if you know where God has brought me from, back from the backside of Africa, there have been things that God has brought me to that years back. Even when I even announced it, it was a joke. People laughed at me and thought it's impossible. But when I see how far God has brought me, I know there's nothing impossible with God, irrespective of race, irrespective of the financial challenges, irrespective of whatever it is, But at the end of the day, with God, all things are possible, including running for office.
Wonderful. And I love that.
Yeah.
All things are possible. I've got two more key questions for you. First of all, my theme for today is, how do we develop the culture of true leadership? For you being handpicked more or less by the Creator from age 14, because when we think about it, what do we know at age 14? Really?
Yeah.
Not much.
Yeah.
You're still dependent on family or whoever it is that's in charge of your care.
Yeah.
But if God has prepared you from that such a tender age, that means that you have some nuggets of leadership that has been dropped into your being. And as you said, it's then up to you to nurture it.
Yeah.
And hopefully, by the grace of God, have people, family around you that would also encourage. Because the people that came to your mother when you were 14 were more of discouragers than encouragers. And as a young 14-year-old boy at the time, you must have heard some of the comments.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That did not stop you from still going for gold, as it were. So today, my question is, how do we develop the culture of true leadership? Because that's something I believe you've done.
Okay, so to answer that question, I want to zoom in on one or two of the words there, develop. To develop something, you have to do and keep doing it. Developing is like something like a gift, a talent, a potential. If you have it, it's there, but it takes work to develop it. If you don't use it and keep using it. Like they said, there's an English saying that practice makes perfect. Whatever you practice and keep practicing and keep doing, you're developing it, it gets better. Yes. Whatever you don't practice or you don't exercise, it
withers away.
Even if it's there, it's like dormant as if it's not there. So when you talk of leadership, developing it means putting it to use. And leadership is leading others. It's you being there for people. It could start even from the family. Even as a young teenager, if mommy and daddy goes out and say, hey, look after your kids, your siblings, you are a leader at that point. And how you lead gives us a clue as to what happens when you have a more greater responsibility. And if you begin to bully people all over because you are the leader and you choose that style of leadership, then you know that you are not going to have success long term, because as a leader, you are not supposed to, and I know some maybe leaders use that tactics, but it's not the best. So as a leader, we should be able to care for people. We should be able to lead people, and the best way of leading is leading by example. It's one thing to say, hey, go do that. But when you do it and people see you are doing it and follow, that's the most effective way of leading. So
leadership by example.
By example. And part of the problem we have in some part of the world, including Africa, is often leaders are not leading by example. But when you are leading and you are not just talking about it, you are actually doing it. And you know, even Jesus led by example. He didn't, Acts 1:1, the former treatise have I written you, O Theophilus, of all that Jesus began to do and to teach. Before Jesus taught anything, he has done it. Before he said, I am the light of the world, he had given sight to the blind. Before he said, I am the bread of life,
he had fed the multitude.
So every time he preaches something, it's something he's done. There's a track record as to what he's doing. So he is not, before he prays, when he taught his disciples to pray, he lived a praying life. You can't have a non-praying life and then you are teaching people how to pray. It doesn't work. So leading by example is so key to be an effective leader and to develop leadership. And a culture of leadership whereby you are not doing it just one time, you are consistent. That consistency is so key, because to have a culture is something you do consistently. It becomes it becomes a norm, it becomes part of the lifestyle. You can't do it today and change tomorrow and resume next tomorrow like you're flipping the light bulb. You have to be consistent.
Like a yo-yo.
Yeah. So if you're talking of leadership, integrity as a leader, you have to have integrity all the time. If you're talking of being truthful, being honest, open, being honest, you have to have it all the time, not sometimes, you know. So that consistency, that servant leadership, being able to serve, that care, being able to know what your people need and how to provide for them, how to take care of them, how to meet their needs, how to represent them well, how to take care of whatever it is, responsibility you have. Those are things that kind of add up to make one to become a responsible leader, a good leader, or a bad leader, because one could be a bad leader, he's leading, but he's not a good example, you know. So I believe that we as a people, as believers, as in the public sector, wherever we find ourselves, in government, in business, in politics, we all have a responsibility to work on ourselves to be able to develop on an ongoing basis, you know, leadership examples that people can look at us and want to emulate us. Because when people look at your leadership style and they don't want to either lead or they don't want to be like you as a leader, then you are doing something wrong.
Not quite right.
Yeah. People should be able to look at you and say, you know what, when I grow up, I want to be like him, or I want to be like her.
Because even in monarchy, as you know, I'm a direct granddaughter of the king, and you're originated from Africa. And you know how monarchy was before the Western world came and messed everything up. Yeah. and I believe that they have taken quite a lot of things from how we practice. Because I was raised to believe that royalty is a privilege. To be born royal is a privilege. And you must not take that privilege for granted, because it's about leadership. That's right. And leadership is service to humanity. Yeah. So service first to your family, to your community, and of course humanity, because you don't know where God is going to send you. For instance, Uma here how many years ago?
Yeah.
Now today you're in Texas,
Yeah.
running for Senate.
Yeah.
What is your philosophy towards life? I'm asking you this question because of young people who might be watching you,
Yeah.
who have maybe expectations or desires,
Yeah.
but are still probably trying to see, how can I do this? Or maybe
Yeah.
not confident enough,
Yeah.
as you said, to step up the plate and
Okay.
do what it is that they want to do.
Okay.
I'd love you to speak to, our young people
Okay.
out there in this camera
To-
and share your philosophy towards
Okay,
life.
so to answer this question, I want to talk about my book, which is Persistent Works. The first book I wrote is on persistent works. I've written 19 others, but that is the core. The core message of persistence is you're doing something, you're pursuing a goal, you have a dream, you want to accomplish something, and then there are obstacles, there are limitations, there are things even maybe from your environment, and the problem or the challenge is that people give up even before they see the manifestation of those miracles or those dreams. Now, the challenge or the encouragement I want to give you, no matter whatever you're dreaming to accomplish in life, no matter whatever goal you have, don't give up. Because when you give up, you have no idea what's on the other side if you only persisted a little more. There are people who have given up and they gave up at the closest. They were just a step away from their miracles, from their dreams, and they gave up. So I want to encourage you, if you're watching right now, whatever dreams you have, whatever goals you have, whatever you have prayed for and believed and you are believing God for, don't give up. Because when you give up, you have thrown away, as it were, your destiny. You have thrown away the great plans that God has for you. God says, I know the plans I have for you, plans of good,
and not evil,
not of evil, to give
bring
you
you
a hope
an
and expected end. So I want you to believe God, number one, that God is able to bring you through no matter what you're going through. Number two, I want you to believe in yourself. It doesn't matter what people say, even if people don't believe in you, you have to believe in you. And there's power in self-talk. You have to speak to yourself. The woman with the issue of blood, the Bible says, and she said to herself, a translation says, and she kept saying to herself, if I can only touch the hem of his garment, I will be made whole. So you have to learn the art of self-talk. Talk to yourself. Believe in you and believe that God has a plan for you and that his plan is going to be accomplished. If there are challenges and obstacles and things on your path that will make you want to give up, refuse to give up, because that is key. Because the moment you give up, you've literally thrown everything away. So I want to believe that God's plan for your life will come to pass. The dream and the goals that you're working on, if you refuse to give up, if you keep pushing, they will happen. It's only a matter of time. But you have to learn how to persist, how to hold on, how to not give up, but persist beyond all the obstacles and all the roadblocks and all the challenges that you have on your way. And by the end of the day, I'm going to see you at the top, because God is going to make sure that you make it over there. So I want to encourage somebody out there. Maybe there's somebody who is about to give up on life, give up on your dreams, give up on whatever you're working on. Don't give up. That's the summary of what I'm trying to say now. Don't give up, persist, and you will reach your dreams.
Thank you so much for that amazing, I'll call it a pep talk there, because as we all see, as the world is going, a lot of our young people are very disillusioned. Yeah. One, because we've spoken a lot about leadership. We've spoken a lot about the things you want to do, even continually as a minister, continually as a major in the military of the United States, but also in the future as a senator of the United States representing Texas. Sadly, when we look around the world, leaders have not really stepped up the plate. And young people are very impressionable. The more we move into the 21st century, they're even getting more and more vulnerable. That's what I'm looking for. So they look to the left, they look to the right, they look ahead, they look backwards. They can't really see anything that would encourage them. And therefore, I believe it's so key that every now and then we meet people like yourself who can stand up and show themselves as an example, but also share those nuggets that you have that could be powerful in impacting the lives of young people. And when we talk about young people, it's across the world. young people face the same challenges in the Western world, in Asia, in the Middle East, in Africa, wherever. My job has taken me around, and I do meet a lot of young people, and I'm talking about people, those impressionable ages, the age between 10 and 19. Those are the formative ages, those years. After 19, a person's character is already formed. What they believe is already there. Sometimes, by the grace of God,
things change.
Things might change, for the better if they're in the wrong lane. But most times, they are formed. The clay has hardened. And therefore, we need people that would continue to speak into the lives of young people. Do you have any plans at all going into your race for the Senate to do something for young people?
Yeah, like through some of the books I've written, I mean, about 2 of them, actually one, Discovering Your
I'm going to stop you there, sir.
Okay.
You know why?
Yeah.
This is 21st century.
Okay.
It's the age of these things called gadgets.
Yeah.
People don't read.
Okay.
And we know that, especially young people.
Young people.
They're in their phones.
Yeah.
Or in their iPads or what have you. What is it that you can? I know your books have a place because there are. It's not all of them that don't read.
And most of them too. Almost all my books are also available as audiobooks.
Wonderful.
Which these days a lot of people.
That is what I wanted you to talk about. That so that they can at least even on the go. They can have their earphones on.
Yeah.
And listen.
Yeah, because in the past audiobooks used to be tapes. Then they migrated to CDs. But now those have become like old school. Now everything is downloadable. And the 3 leading platforms for audiobooks, iTunes, which is for everyone that has an iPhone. Audible is the largest market for downloadable audiobooks. But what happened was that Amazon, when they become big, they don't want any competition. So Audible is going to be a competition for Amazon because they are the big guys on the audiobook industry. And Amazon is into books, and they think these guys will be a competition, so they bought them over.
Oh, wow.
So now you can grow as much as you want. You are part of us, So Amazon still has its platform, but Audible, Amazon, iTunes, those are the 3 leading platforms for downloadable audiobooks. So whatever smartphone you have, from Apple to Android to whatever, you can download the apps, and some of them, like the iTunes, it already comes, filtered in. So.
Are there specific ones that you can just share with us?
Yeah, for young people, I love to give, even as a gift to young people, the one titled Discovering Your Destiny. Now, I know most times people have no idea of what to do with their lives. They don't have an idea of the gift or the talent they have. And when I meet young people, I encourage them, hey, there is something in you. You have a gift, you have a talent, but the thing is to discover it. So in that book, I was able to help them, taking them by the hand, as it were, to help discover the talent, the gift, the potential in you that you can actually develop to become who God has destined you to be. And many times we go looking for something superficial, something out there that will make us great, but God already has put it in there. And one way that you can know what that thing is, what comes naturally to you. What do you love doing?
What are you passionate about?
Passionate about. That is one of the easiest way. But you know what? Sometimes we leave that and we go pursue something else. Somebody, for instance, cooking comes natural. They love it. They have passion. Instead of pursuing a career or a business in that field, you could be. There are people who run, who have shows on Food Network. I was watching one the other day. Very young guy, and you wouldn't believe how he was talking about cookery and all of that. And I'm like, wow. And one of my younger brothers, he was into that too. Now, somebody could make that a career and become a big name, but you know what? Oh, cooking, nah. And they are trying to pursue something else that is not part of your makeup. So being able to know what comes natural to you, what you love, what you're passionate for. Someone who talks very well like you, and it comes natural. You are a great talk show TV host and a speaker and all that. So if the person leaves that and wants to pursue something else, then they begin to struggle in it. So that's one. Some of the things I talked about in that book. Another book I will recommend. I do recommend. I actually give some of these as gifts to young people. Discovering your vision and what to do with it. Now, for that book, actually, most people don't have no idea of what to do with the vision they have. I mean, some don't have a vision for their life, but they have no idea what to do. So in that book, I talked about how to take your vision from conception to realization, the steps, what to do about it, and how to, it's sad to see that some people come to the end of their lives, looking back, there are dreams, there are visions they had years ago. They had no idea of what to do with it, and 20 years later, you just talk about it like history. And interestingly, sometimes someone else gets a similar idea,
And they fly.
run with it, and at the end of the day, you're like, hey, you know what?
I had that idea
you
20
know,
years ago.
You know, so it's so important for us to know what to do with our vision when we have
How
it,
to nurture
or if,
it,
how to nurture, how to take it from conception
To actualization.
to actualization. And you know, when God gives you a dream or a vision, it doesn't come like a huge mountain. It comes like a seed. God drops a seed, an idea in your spirit. Picking it up and developing it is up to you. Absolutely. And if you don't know what to do with it, it remains there as a seed, and it could have a potential to become even a multi-million-dollar product.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's so important.
Thank you
that,
so much
we
for sharing that.
encourage them.
Also, this is Heritage Television. It's our Pan-African TV platform. Would you just be a part of the Heritage TV house and encourage somebody there to keep watching Heritage TV? What would you tell them?
Wow, so in case you're watching Heritage TV, I believe so far you've been blessed, and I want to encourage you, hey, keep watching Heritage TV. Invite somebody else, you know, talk about it, share it, let them know about what God is doing here and about the dream. We talked about dreams and vision. Yes. I believe this was a dream, a vision that God gave to our brother, and it's become a reality. And I look forward, I believe that God is going to take this station to higher height, and it's going to go greater, but we want you to be part of it. And I want to encourage you to not only watch, share, and invite people, encourage people to, you know, get to know more of what God is doing here. And the next time I come to the UK, I know it's going to be even much more of a household there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much indeed for having you. All the best with your race at the Senate. Safe journey when you go back to the US. And as you said, we're looking forward to seeing you again here one more time. The books, the audiobooks that you mentioned, I would love for, because I have some of the books that you gave me a few years ago, and I have you know, read them, and they've been very impactful. But for the young people, I would like you to kindly again extend to them that, because you said you do offer it to some young people free. So I'd ask them to contact me, and I would, you know, be the midwife, as it were, and I will make sure that it has to be people who are within, you know, that those ages, age brackets, you know, so that they can also tap into what you have there, and share in the nuggets, and you know, edify themselves and empower themselves. So if you are a youngster, you know, age, maybe we should push it up a bit to like age 25 and
well,
below.
I believe any age bracket, you know the thing, we should be careful about certain age when it comes to that, because you know what, Abraham didn't begin until 75.
So I guess
75.
Abraham was a kid at 75.
So someone can actually begin their real calling, discover themselves at 50.
That's true.
They could have been doing something else, but at 50, it's like your eye open and you know what, I should have been doing this. And then they begin the journey. So,
we'll say anybody, if you're interested in tapping into the books, as Bishop explained to us earlier, he has written 20 books to date. And each of those books, I've been a recipient of some of his books, so I know what I'm talking about. Each of his books are amazing. So if you're interested, send me an email or contact Heritage Television and say you want to be put through to Princess Moradeo, and I will ensure that you do get the link. So how many are we going to give?
They can simply also go to the website, persistentworks.com.
Persistent Works.
Works, yeah.
Persistentworks.com.
So all the books you'll be able to find the print versions if you want the print, if you want to download the audiobooks, and they're available as ebooks as well. So if you want just something to download into your iPad and be able to read on the go, so that's also possible. But if you want the audiobooks, They are available there. Or you can just type in Vincent and Paul in any of these, like iTunes, Audible, Amazon, and all the books will just
come out.
Come
Okay.
out, and you can start a trial of. I mean, there are samples of them actually
Okay.
on those places, so you kind of have a feel of what it is like before you get the whole thing. But I believe those will be a blessing to them.
Wonderful. So all the best with your race
Okay.
to the Senate. I'm excited,
Amen.
and I'm hoping we will be invited to
For the swearing in,
witness your swearing in.
That's right.
And you'll then be, of course, the Honorable Senator.
January 2021, by the grace of
2021,
God.
by the
So
grace of God. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks so
It's
much.
been a pleasure again
Thanks so
having
much.
you on Arize Conversations.
Thank you so much.
And warmest regards to your family
Amen.
back in Texas.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being with us, part of the watch party, or watching us on Facebook Live, on the internet. You've been tuned into Arize Conversations, beamed to you live on Heritage Television, the Pan-African TV network, based in the UK, but beaming across the world. I am yours truly, the host, Her Royal Highness Princess Moradeon Adedoyin Sholari. Arize Conversations will be coming to you every Thursday afternoon, 2 o'clock on Heritage Television. So stay tuned. Next week, we'll be bringing you an amazing, amazing interview that I had with His Imperial Majesty, Oba Adeyeye Enitan Babatunde Ogunwusi, the Ooni of Ife. His birthday is coming up on the 17th of October, and Heritage Television and myself are happy to bring you this exclusive interview. Nobody has watched it before. That's another leader. I'm very excited when I speak to leaders, and therefore, stay tuned and watch out for the details and information. Thanks for being with us. Continue to arise as agents of positive change. Take care.